Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout-out to... Something else. Something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matata, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Aria.
And welcome to episode number 086 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at both Mid-South Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling from March 26, 1983. My name is Aria, and welcome to the show. So in case this is your first time checking out the show, what we do is we talk about Mid-South Wrestling and World Class Wrestling from one day ago, this week in history, 41 years ago, March 26th, 1983, as opposed to what I put on our YouTube page, which is 31 years ago, because no, 31 years ago would be 1993, and this is not 1993, it's 1983, damn it. And now that I remember what a decade is, speaking of our YouTube page, hey, while I'm on the subject, to bring it up, I do have a YouTube page. It is tinyurl.com/something else YouTube. On the YouTube page, not only do you get this show, the Something Else podcast, you get the Smoky Mountain Rewatch Along project, plus you also get the video version. Now, the video version is not you staring at my ugly mug for an hour. I promise nobody wants to see that. I don't even want to see that, and it's my ugly mug. You get the full video version of Mid-South Wrestling from March the 20, whatever fucking day this is, from March 26th, 1983. Oh my God, I lost my fucking train of thought here. You get the full show. The world-class show, though, I unfortunately cannot access it through my normal means. So it's purely the Peacock edition, and to download the shit off Peacock, the file size is fucking gigantic. No, like seriously, the fucking file size is amazingly huge, and it'll take me forever and a day to upload it. So just saying, go get Peacock. It costs like $5 a month, and go check out World Class Championship Wrestling, or just listen to me, because I think I do a hell of a job recapping it here on this fine audio program. So speaking of fine audio programs, let's dive right into first Mid-South Wrestling from March 26, 1983 from the Irish McNeil Boys Club in Shreveport, Louisiana. Let's go to the intro with Boyd Pierce and Bill Watts.
Wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of Mid-South Wrestling Television Network. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce, and we have a lot of things coming up in the next 60 minutes. We hope you'll stay with us. The Black Ninja, Kendo Nagasaki, is here. Also, you'll see the Junkyard Dog in the ring against the Oriental Star, the Golden Dragon. Tag team action at its very best. The new title holders of the Mid-South Tag Team belts, Mr. Wrestling 2 and his partner Tiger Conway Jr. against the rugged twosome of Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Matt Borne. Also, the little midget stars. 4 of the top midgets in the world are here, but the man to tell you about some interesting items before the matches, our guest commentator, Cowboy Bill Watts.
Well, thank you, Boyd, and it's always great to have the television stations in the Mid-South area also enjoy our wrestling program. And, of course, Buddy Nichols, the sports director at KALB Channel 5 in Alexandria, was entranced and enthralled by Andre the Giant, as is everybody that meets the man. He's 7'4", 485 pounds, an awesome man. And let's watch this film clip that Buddy Nichols put together.
The rock group Saga says it best about Andre the Giant. No one can stop him. To millions of wrestling fans around the world, he's known as Andre the Giant. But what about Andre the Man? Well, to start with, this mountain of a man stands 7 feet 4 inches tall, tips the scales at 485 pounds, and has the body dimensions that would make a tailor and a shoemaker double their material orders. As for Andre the Man away from the world of professional wrestling, well, the likable giant has a deep interest in acting and an eating establishment in Montreal, Canada.
Most of the time I'm in Los Angeles playing TV series or try to play in movies sometimes. I like to go in the studio over there.
You are not only a professional wrestler, but you have also like other sports too.
Oh yeah, I used to play soccer before, and I played rugby. I was a little bit in boxing too, and I even got another business when I'm not wrestling. I'm in Montreal. I got a restaurant over there.
So is that what you plan to do after you get out of this business?
I don't know. I don't make any plans because I don't know when I'm going to quit wrestling.
So you don't have any goals as to say, I'm going to stay in this business for 10, 15 more years?
No, because you never know. Maybe tonight will be my last night. Maybe tomorrow will be my last night. So I don't make any plans. I just keep going.
The big guy loves the world of professional wrestling, but he knows it can't last forever, and he's mentally prepared for his career should it end tomorrow. But as long as he is in the squared circle, no one can stop him now.
Okay, so that's enough of the music video. So we're gonna have Junkyard Dog versus the Golden Dragon this week. We're gonna have tag team champions, our new tag team champions, Mr. Conway. Wow, Mr. Conway is, his dad. Tiger Conway Jr. is what the rest of us call him, and he's partners with Mr. Wrestling 2, the new Mid-South Tag Team Champions. They're here. They wrestled Jim Duggan and Matt Borne in a non-title match. So 2/3 of the Rat Pack, just not the usual tag team in the Rat Pack. Plus, and again, just a disclaimer, this is what they're called at the time. And obviously things have changed, but I'll just say what they said. The little midget stars are here. No, they're not. This is a running joke. I promise they eventually have the match, but it's not. They actually have the match, I think, during this TV taping. But spoiler alert, it's not happening on this week's show. Anyway, from here, Watts talks about our old friend Buddy Nichols of KALB in Alexandria, Louisiana, who, if you recall from his appearance here last month, KALB TV in Alexandria, Louisiana, made wrestling what it is. So if you like wrestling from 1983, give credit to KALB TV. If you don't, blame KALB of Alexandria, Louisiana, because it's their fault. They showed the video or the news story that Buddy did on Andre when Andre was here last month, and honestly, it was kind of cool. It was and that's the reason why I put it. Like, there was no real reason to air it other than just to air it. But when things like this come up, they're fun to listen to. They're fun to see. And there you go. So it went on for another minute, and all it was, like, while that song was playing, they were just showing highlights of Andre wrestling. And they note that Andre's into acting. Andre has a restaurant in Montreal, but they make sure to note that doesn't mean he's not going to wrestle anymore. But Andre's preparing himself for life after wrestling, which, as he said, his career could end tonight. It could end tomorrow night. We don't know. From here, we go back to the announce desk where Bill Watts is going to be talking about Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Man relentless in his pursuit of anybody that crosses him is Hacksaw Duggan, probably the most colorful and most independent and the wildest of the Rat Pack. And I interviewed Hacksaw Duggan and asked him about a match recently in Houston, and these were his comments.
As a member of the Rat Pack,
proud member of the Rat Pack, excuse me. In a lot of ways, you've also maintained an identity of your own and an independence of your own. On February the 9th, right here on Mid-South Wrestling, Andre the Giant, the 8th wonder of the world, and Mr. USA Tony Atlas teamed up to wrestle DiBiase and Borne for the Mid-South Tag titles. You came to their aid, and at the same time, Kamala and Akbar came involved, and Kamala attacked viciously Andre the Giant right here. When we interviewed the victorious, and I put that in quotes and tongue-in-cheek, team with you on the scene, the Rat Pack, on the 16th of February, you seemed to get very concerned with DiBiase that maybe he had enlisted Skandar Akbar to bring Kamala in on Andre the Giant, and you seem to want the Rat Pack to maintain an identity and an independence and not be associated with Akbar and his foreign oil holdings and his former association with the Iranian Iron Sheik. And then yet on the 25th of February in Houston, Texas, when Tony Atlas, Mr. USA, was against Kamala, the man that came and caused Mr. USA Tony Atlas to lose that match was you. Now, what is your involvement with Skandar Akbar?
Well, first, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. I don't put my nose in anybody else's business. What Andre the Giant and the Ugandan Warrior had going, that's between them. What me and Tony Atlas have going, that's between us. One thing is for sure, though, for personal reasons that I don't need to go into right now, for personal reasons, I don't have nothing to do with Skandar Akbar or anybody else from that part of the country or part of the world. There's very personal reasons to go deep set in my family for this. Now, I go out and had this match that you're talking about. I had my job, my responsibility is take care of my business, and my business is Tony Atlas. Now, I don't care if it was Akbar or whoever it was in the ring. I was going after Atlas. He's the man that I wanted.
Well, we'll watch the closing moments of that grueling match, the 25th of February in Houston, Texas, where Atlas was against Kamala, and you entering the ring, which caused Atlas to lose the bout. This is the closing final moments of it, and would you narrate that?
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at this myself.
Now, in case you don't know who signs the checks around here, Bill Watts, this is, I just played 3 minutes, 35 seconds of audio. Now, Bill Watts, of course, introduces it, which, is fine, because, you want to have the introduction. That takes about 30 seconds. They then go to the interview, which this motherfucker takes 95 seconds. No lie. I looked at the clock, timed it out. It took him 95 seconds to capitulate and just ask the fucking question. But, Bill Watts is the star. It's his show. And if Bill Watts wants to spend 95 seconds out of what was essentially a 2-minute promo, building it up, go right the fuck ahead, I guess. Anyway, the point of this is that Duggan says he does not stick his nose in anyone else's business, but he does reiterate that due to personal reasons, he has nothing to do with Akbar or anyone else from that part of the world. Now, of course, the funny thing is, as we mentioned, you were supposed to forget that 1 year ago, Jim Duggan debuted as a hitman of Skandar Akbar's. Just pretend that never happened. Now that sends us to Houston and a Tony Atlas versus Kamala match, where Duggan does the commentary from the Mid-South desk here. The ref got bumped when Atlas drop kicked Kamala and Kamala fell into him. Outran Hacksaw, who speared Atlas, but then he accidentally spears Kamala. Duggan in the commentary blamed this on Friday and Akbar not giving Kamala proper instructions. The referee got up and went right back down. Duggan took a flare bump off the top rope and then got choked by Atlas. Kamala did a running splash to Atlas's back. Atlas rolled out of the ring. The referee got up and counted Atlas out, giving the win to Kamala. Duggan, then back at the desk, turns his attention to Bruce Reed and said that Reed might have trouble getting off the plane next week. Is that a threat, Mr. Duggan? I think it is. Plus, in case you weren't sure or you forget, Bruce Reed is Butch Reed. And not sure why they're calling him Bruce at first, because by the time he actually gets here, they are just flat out calling him Butch Reed. So pretty much ignore the fact that Bruce Reed exists and just keep knowing that it's Butch Reed. He'll be here next week, and they'll be, it'll be on from here, people. So from here, Watts comes back to talk about the incident from 2 weeks ago with Mr. Olympia and Mr. Wrestling 2, where, we show the replay of the entire thing, which was, set up when they said that somebody kicked over Olympia's suitcase, which popped open, and, all of the Mr. Wrestling 2 accoutrements came out of it. Mr. Olympia, pled innocence because, and he pointed out all of the things that he did. He filled in for Mr. Wrestling 2. He saved Mr. Wrestling 2 from injuries. He did all this shit. So why would he do all this shit and then also be trying to take him out of wrestling? Who knows? But I guess we do know because after they show the replay, they go back to Bill Watts. And mind you, these audio clips are like 15 seconds long. It's not worth the time to pull them up and play them. Watts calls Mr. Olympia the new Judas. And then shows the Olympia promo from last week where he pled innocence and they, everyone decided to take a break. Watson says that next week we will see the video of the treacherous actions of Mr. Olympia. So what the hell is going on here? But apparently Mr. Olympia has turned heel. All right. But like I said, and I made note of that here, each of these are 10 to 15 second audio snippets that just sent it to replay, so I'm not going to bother playing them. But of course, if you check out the video version of the show at tinyurl.com/something else YouTube, you can, you can watch it in its glory, I guess. So we finally go to the ring in Shreveport for our first live match. It is the Black Ninja Kendo Nagasaki versus future perpetual Alabama Junior Heavyweight Champion Mike Jackson, who to my knowledge is still wrestling today, 41 years later. So this show is 45 minutes long. We are 21 plus minutes into the 45-minute show, and this is our first live match. Honestly, watching this match just makes me wish that Mike Jackson had gotten more of a TV push. And, you watch like things like, WWF Superstars, from 92, 93, 94, and you see the Hardy Boys, you see D'Lo Brown, you see, Just Incredible. You see all these people who start as TV jobbers and get, they each get pretty decent pushes. Balls Mahoney was a TV jobber. And, not mind you, it's different levels of success here. But there's some people you wonder, how they didn't get more of a push or how they never got their break. And Mike Jackson, his is a little easier to understand because, this was the day of the big man. And even if you weren't introduced as being at least, 230, 235 pounds, you were a jobber. And there was no hope for you. And unfortunately, Mike Jackson, if he came around, if his, if he would have come around 5-10 years later, I know I said he's still wrestling 40 years later, which he is, but if he'd come around 5-10 years later, I think, he may not have been a giant superstar, but I think he would have gotten something out of, the mid to late 90s, and being used on TV as more than just a jobber, because especially by that point, he was a TBS jobber forever, and he was a well-known TV jobber. It's not even like Mick Foley, where it's like, okay, because he wrote in his book, and now you can see all these tapes of him where, oh, yeah, look, there's Mick Foley wrestling as a jobber in 87. It's like, he wasn't around long enough to really, be established as a jobber. It's like, people don't really, honestly, people don't really remember it, but people remember Mike Jackson because he wasn't just a jobber, he was a great jobber. And he did his job very well. And unfortunately, it really took away any chance for him to get more of a push because he was so good at doing what he did here. And, it is just an absolute, it's a fucking travesty that he has to put over this joke. And I've played about Kendo Nagasaki before. I don't like him. I'm sure people do. I think he's a fucking joke. But that's just... And Nagasaki won with his super. Junkyard Dog versus Golden Dragon. The Golden Dragon, clad all in black. And hey, the Junkyard Dog is wrestling and Kendo Nagasaki's in the arena. Well, we have another confrontation. Let's go to the ring here for another confrontation.
You got an extra man in there.
Boy, Pierce, we've seen this without a doubt. Kendo Nagasaki is again, and he's spewed some green out of his mouth, and it looks like he's ready to do battle with the Junkyard Dog. It's supposed to be the Junkyard Dog against the Golden Dragon. But Kendo Nagasaki is getting bolder and bolder in each of his martial arts challenges to the dog, but the dog's still got that logging chain there, and I'll guarantee you, I don't care what martial art ability you have, you get that 20-foot doubled-up logging chain wrapped around you, and it's going to tear you apart.
Okay. So we've done this twice already. This is the third time. But for what it's worth, you heard the fans. They were chanting for Junkyard Dog louder here than they had the two prior times that these two squared off. So whether or not it's just, hey, we love Junkyard Dog and we want to see him finally kick this guy's ass, they were into this, and yeah, we'll just go with that there. So exit Nagasaki, enter Dragon, and the bell rang to start. We do get the return of geopolitical Bill Watts, who sneaks out of his closet to talk about how Junkyard Dog using a punch to the face showcased American ingenuity, because no one from another country would have thought about using a punch to the face. Dragon locked on the Oriental Nerve Hold. Yokozuna must have been studying his Golden Dragon tapes, as he used the shoulder lean that Yoko would make famous a decade later. Dog had a forearm and a thump for a win out of nowhere, which, it was quick, and I guess at least it wasn't a side Russian leg sweep. So, big win for Junkyard Dog over the Golden Dragon. We then have Super Destroyer versus Joe Stark. The closest thing to a highlight of this match was Watts saying Mid-South does read your cards and letters, even if they don't get a chance to respond, so please keep sending in your cards and letters to your television station here, and they'll make sure that the Mid-South office gets it. Destroyer wins an unremarkable match with a superplex, and Super Destroyer is actually here until the end of June. So I don't have to take a deep seat because it's only about 3 months. But hey, he's here, people. We then have tag team champions Mr. Wrestling 2 and Tiger Conway Jr. versus Louisiana State champion Hacksaw Duggan and Matt Borne. Just a reminder, as we do every week I think about it, Mr. Wrestling 2 is still the Mississippi State champion. The fans were more into the intro of this match than anything we've seen so far. And I noted here that Conway's belt is missing a side piece. Or side plate. A side plate. So I'm not sure what happened to it, because last week when they did the interview, with Conway and Wrestling 2, the belt was in one piece. It was intact. So at some point over the last week, the belt got broken. Somehow, some way, somewhere, somehow. Which is funny because these shows are taped on the same night. So whatever happened to the goddamn belt, I don't know. But somewhere between hour 1 and hour 2, a side plate on the belt went missing. Super Destroyer came to the ring to watch from nearby and pick at his teeth on camera. Could somebody have told him that he was on camera? So 2 knees Duggan off the apron and threatened to knee Borne, which caused the Rat Pack to regroup near the toothpicker. Watts is begging children to keep watching because midgets will be wrestling next. Do kids not like full-grown people wrestling? Like, I get, when I was a kid, it was kind of fun to watch them wrestle, because I was stupid and thought that, they were children. and did not understand that, what it really was. However, it's just weird that it's just like, oh yeah, we got to get the kids to watch. We're going to have the midgets wrestle. Great. Whatever. So Borne misses bombs away on 2, which let Conway get a tag. He got in and aggressively slaps on a headlock. Well, at least we got that discussion last week about how important headlocks were. So, good. Borne gets out of the headlock, and the Rat Pack laid in the beatings on Conway. Conway leapfrogged over Borne, knocked down both heels, and made the hot tag. Four-way breaks out, and Duggan, who accidentally speared Kamala earlier, accidentally spears Borne here. 2 gave both heels a running knee lift, and then pinned Borne to win this non-title match. We go to commercial with Duggan and Borne not happy with one another. And back from commercial, we found out there was more to it than that. Watts talks about this is one of the worst things we've ever seen, and pitches it to a video where Duggan and Matt Borne begin fighting with one another. Duggan gets the best out of it. When Super Destroyer stops picking his teeth, gets up and gets involved and helps Duggan, which included Duggan giving Borne the spear on purpose this time, and Super Destroyer giving him a superplex. Duggan attempted to cut a promo, but Watts cut him off and said he didn't have time for it or the midget match, so that will be taped and aired next week. Damn, after the kids were begged to stick around for the entire show, we don't have time for the reason why we begged the kids to sit around and watch, and that will just get aired next week. No, it won't. But that does it for Mid-South. And things are getting interesting. Like I said I said it a few weeks ago. This thing with Mr. Olympia and Mr. Wrestling 2 is a lot more interesting than anything else on the show. They appear to have, it appears the Junkyard Dog Ted DiBiase feud is finally over. The problem is now Junkyard Dog's feud is apparently going to be with Kendo Nagasaki, which hopefully does not last long. That's all we'll say. So, we'll see what happens, because they've now promised, Mr. Olympia is the new Judas. He's done something heinous, and we're going to talk about it next week. I don't know about you, but I can't wait for next week here. Plus, we're going to find out next week the results of the Mid-South North American title tournament. So that's something to look forward to. And at some point, apparently, we're going to have midgets wrestling. So that's it for our Mid-South report. Moving on to Royal Class Championship Wrestling, also from March 26, 1983, from the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas. Let's go to the intro with Bill Mercer, and David Von Erich is joining the desk for the intro of this week's show.
And welcome to World Class Championship Wrestling from the Sportatorium in downtown Dallas, Texas. I'm Bill Mercer, and with me right now is David Von Erich, and your brothers have got a big one tonight.
Yeah, you can see we got another jam-packed house here tonight. I'm here for one reason only. When my brothers are wrestling the Freebirds, Bill, we both know how they are. If there's 2 of them in the ring, there's going to be 3 of them if they're here. Well, they're here. So that means there's going to be 3 in the ring. That means David's going to be there to watch and make sure my brothers are just fine. We're going to come out number 1 on this one tonight, Bill.
Kevin and Kerry against Hayes and Gordy, and all 4 will be in the ring at the same time.
That's right, and Buddy Roberts and myself will be in their corners, respectively.
And now you're looking to Jimmy Garvin, Gorgeous, and the Texas Championship again.
Yeah, hey, to my fans and the people of Texas, I want you please to start writing in these letters and start sending them in about me wrestling Jimmy Garvin for that Texas title. I need your support to get another match with him. When I get him in the ring, I'm going to take the Texas title back and put it where it belongs, on my mantle.
Thank you, David, and we'll be right back with Jose Lothario and Jimmy Garvin next on World.
All right. So David says he's here to back up his brothers in the big tag team main event match. It's Kevin and Kerry versus Hayes and Gordy, and all 4 men are allowed in the ring at the same time. So essentially a Texas Tornado match right here on World Class this week. Also, you may notice that I was able to play that entire intro without any buffering issues, and that is because a wonderful person has uploaded a lot of this world-class stuff onto YouTube. It's YouTuber Classic Wrestling Stuff. So please check out Classic Wrestling Stuff's stuff. And subscribe, watch, listen, yada, 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 yada. So got a commercial, come back for our first match. It is Texas heavyweight champion Jimmy Garvin with Sunshine versus Jose Lothario. Normally I would make a reference to how young everyone in the show looks. Surprising. I know that in 1983 people look a lot younger than they do now in 2024 if they're still alive. Or, let's even go 10 years later. How old did Garvin look 10 years later? How old did Michael Hayes look 10 years later? And, shockingly, they all look 10 years younger on this show. But anyway, the point of this is Jose Lothario, who was like 61 years old when he was in Shawn Michaels' corner in 95, 96, he looks to be about 61 years old here now as well. So I guess Bill Irwin is taking a week or so off from being in the opener of the show, since the last 2 weeks he's gone with 0 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Kind of weird that Garvin, the gimmick was that Garvin refused to wrestle on TV until he got a Texas title match. He got the Texas title match. He obviously won the Texas title. And I guess he has no problem wrestling on TV now that he's the actual champion. But, kind of weird. So Jose and Garvin did a lot of, as I'm terming it, first week in wrestling school spots. Headlock, leapfrog, drop down, get it again. If you told me that somewhere in Texas, Shawn Michaels was being taught how to work by watching this match, I'd believe you. Because, like I said, it's a very basic, very first week of wrestling school type of match. Mercer continues to talk about Garvin's bombs away finisher, which, as we noted, it's important to distinguish this. Matt Borne, when he does the bombs away, it's basically a top rope sitting splash. And, Jimmy Garvin's, that's his name for the brain buster. And the debate is whether or not it really is a brain buster, because the brain buster is illegal in world class. You would think that's a pretty cut and dry debate, but here we are. Funny thing here, the referee accused Garvin of pulling the hair, and Garvin screamed at him that he doesn't cheat. He follows the rules and regulations, damn it. Garvin uses a pair of double leg takedowns, but Lothario used his leg strength to flip Garvin over. Garvin uses a third double leg, and they end up near the ropes, and Garvin is able to pin him, grabbing onto the middle rope for the leverage. So yes, Jimmy Garvin does cheat. He does not always follow the rules and regulations, but he is a winner here. After the match, Jose was arguing with the referee about what happened, so Garvin punched him. So Jose punched Garvin and sent the Texas champion reeling. Now I gotta tell you, we have quite the segment coming up. And I've mentioned before that every week, or almost every week, they like to do a personality profile where they go out and, see the wrestlers in real life and having them cut promos. And we had, David Von Erich in, the barn last week. We had Jimmy Garvin, in a hot tub one week. We're going to go to a conference room at the headquarters of Devastation Incorporated for just a tremendous segment.
Opportunity to be visiting with the man, Mr. Akbar, in the conference room of his headquarters of his empire. I think you'll find this meeting most revealing.
Good day, Mr. Akbar. Mr. Bundy.
Your secretary said that you wanted to see me if you'll wait a moment. Upon your request.
It's no big deal, boss, but I found a rolls I really like, and it's 80 grand.
Just 80 grand. No problem. See Mr. Kumar. Mr. Mercer, you said that you wanted to talk to me about my worldwide oil negotiations, the OPEC Accord, etc.
Yes, that's right. Of course, they made the big adjustment in the price yesterday. OPEC is very, very important to everybody. Also, your interest in wrestling worldwide, and of course, locally with Kabuki, Bundy, and Kumala.
Later, but for the moment, I would like to comment about the latest news. We have dropped the oil $5 a barrel.
Right.
And no country can undercut us.
That was part of the accord.
Of course. Of course. But remember, this will be a substantial increase at the consumer's pumps.
How can there be a consumer rise when you cut the price?
This will come later. This you don't see this in the news, Mr. Mercer. Mr. Kumar, if you'll hit the switch, please. Now, of course, energy, as you know, makes the world that you live in, that everybody lives in, it goes around. Petroleum, why the very substance that this VTR machine is made of, comes from petroleum.
And we're looking right now at Arabian oil fields.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly. The tremendous production that my homeland. Right now, I would like to say that I am a man of prestige. The wrestlers in my wrestling stable are seen throughout the world, particularly in my homeland. I cannot stand by having any defeats in my wrestling stable. Otherwise, my negotiations with OPEC would not be taken seriously.
Is that close together, then?
Exactly. Now, if world-class wrestling condones Hussein and that dog Yatsu carrying sticks into the ring, well, we have the ninja stick match, and I will gladly at any time negotiate with the other organization in such a match.
Well, that would be Kabuki and...
Kabuki. Kabuki is back.
He's
the
well.
boogeyman is as devastating as ever. Also, King Kong Bundy. I call him the new eighth wonder of the world. Somehow. And I am very confident that Kabuki will take care of Yatsu. I have Bundy standing in the wings. And let us not forget Kamala, the
Right now,
awesome Ugandan warrior.
you've mentioned these three. Does that set up the trio for the six-man world-class tag team championship?
No, Mercer.
Kamala,
Hold
Bundy,
it, Mercer. No, I cannot afford to put Kamala in a tag situation. The man is not a wrestler. He's a brute, a savage, almost uncontrollable. However, the general, the boss, is always one step ahead. I am negotiating with the best wrestler in the world.
And who is that?
Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. And as you Americans always say, talking about long green money, I have enough money. I dig deep into my pocketbook, and I'm sure that the world's champion, Mr. Ric Flair, will come to terms with the general. Because worldwide news now is the world-class six-man tag championship. This is the talk of the wrestling world, also in my nation.
Mr. Akbar, does this mean that the world's heavyweight champion Ric Flair is under your control with Devastation Incorporated?
If you wish to believe this, this is fine.
And there.
What the hell was that promo? No, seriously. What the hell was that? That okay. So that was something. I wish I could say more about it, but so it starts with Bundy asking for $80,000 so he can get a Rolls Royce. And hey, Akbar is a man of millions and millions of dollars. $80,000 is a write-off. Sure, Bundy, I'll give you $80,000. Only $80,000 for a Rolls Royce? Go right ahead. That's where things get a little off the wall. We start talking about Akbar's oil interest, and we start getting specific. They talk about how recent negotiations with OPEC, they dropped the price of oil $5 a barrel, but somehow, despite the decrease in price, that it would lead to an increase in gas prices at the pumps, a substantial increase at the pumps. And there are many people around here going, Then Akbar has his assistant, Mr. Kumar, play a video on a VCR set up behind them of oil rigs. They're like showing oil rigs doing oil rig things while Akbar is cutting this promo. And then the best thing here, and this is really going to, make you laugh when, the shows continue here. OPEC will not take his negotiations seriously if his men lose. So his men need to win in order for OPEC to take his negotiations seriously. I don't know. Like, what does one have to do with the other? Who knows? But apparently, this is a worldwide, global thing here that it has global ramifications if if Tola Yatsu were to somehow defeat one of his men. Akbar said that if Yatsu and Arman Hussein insist on bringing sticks to the ring, then they could have a ninja stick match with Tola Yatsu and Kabuki. And despite having a 3-man team, he cannot send them after the 6-man tag team titles because Kamala is a savage and cannot do a tag team match. Even though if you've watched Mid-South, he has done them before. He will do them again. But, he can't do a tag team match. So he can't do a 6-man tag team titles. So Akbar announces he's negotiating with the best wrestler in the world, the world heavyweight champion, Ric Flair, to be on his 3-man team. That was a weird-ass promo. So back to the Sportatorium. Bill Mercer is going to talk to Arman Hussein.
Hussein, you've probably heard Devastation Incorporated says one of the 3 of them's got to get Yatsu.
Well, I'm here to say this. I have said to the world out there time and time again that Tola Yatsu is the greatest wrestler ever coming to these United States. He's here for one purpose. He has proven everything that I said he was going to do. He's done it. And he's beaten Kabuki. He's beaten King Fat Pig Bundy. And if he's going to beat him again, if he meets him again, and he's going to beat him tonight.
Kabuki next week with a kendo stick.
Yes, with a kendo stick. And he's going to give him the worst beating he ever got in his life.
All right, thank you, Arman Hussein. We'll be meeting now with Yatsu. Let's go to the ring. And Mark Lawrence.
Okay, so, it's one of those promos that, if I was using Peacock and it wasn't playing, I wouldn't even have bothered playing. But it was just hyping up Tola Yatsu. Tola Yatsu's the best wrestler. Tola Yatsu is going to beat Bundy tonight. He's beat Bundy in the past. He's going to beat Kabuki he's going to beat Kabuki next week in the stick match. They are, they're really, building up this feud here between the 2 heel groups, and it's kind of weird, especially, like I said, it's 2 heel groups. Arman Hussein, at times I thought I think they're supposed to be the baby faces in the group or in the feud, but, Akbar's group is definitely heelish. Arman Hussein's group is heelish, and, we'll see how things go from here. So we go to the ring for the next match, King Kong Bundy versus Tola Yatsu with Arman Hussein. Notably, General Skandor Akbar is not at ringside for this one. Bundy is trying to avenge the injuries sustained by Kabuki some time back. Yatsu does his pre-match ceremony, and I seem to mention this every week, but I would love to know why he waits until the bell rings to do his ceremony, and why, perhaps more important, why his opponent, will wait patiently for Yatsu to finish the ceremony before attacking. Yatsu threw a few kicks to keep Bundy at bay, which was smart. Smart. Then he locked up with the much larger and stronger Bundy, which was dumb. Dum. So Bundy works on the arm and shoulder. Yatsu threatened a strike with his free arm, so Bundy threw him down. Mercer announced that, quote-unquote, soon, Ric Flair would defend the World Heavyweight title against Kevin Von Erich, who recently won the Americas title. Bundy splashed Yatsu in the corner, so Armand grabs Bundy's ankle, which was not a DQ, but seconds later when Yatsu grabbed his kendo stick and hit Bundy with it, it was a DQ. The fans did cheer the announcement that Bundy had won, so go figure. Armand screamed that Bundy better pray that there is not another match. Keep in mind that Bundy had the advantage for 99% of this one. Mercer says that they've had a lot of requests to re-air the Kamala video from Jerry Jarrett's backyard, so they air it. The Kamala video. The one that we've seen 100 times already. The one that we've talked about in Mid-South. We've talked about in World Class. He is Kamala. He's 6'9". He's 380 pounds. He is Kamala, the Ugandan giant. And then Mercer came back and said that hopefully we were not too frightened by this experience. If that was the real concern, why the hell did you air it? So anyway, we get our tag team main event, Kevin and Kerry Von Erich with David in the corner versus Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy with Buddy Roberts in their corner. They do not call this a Texas Tornado match for reasons that will be clear in a few minutes, but essentially that's what it is, as all four men were allowed in the ring at the same time, plus we have two referees. The Freebirds, it's funny because, to bring it back into sort of present day stuff, when the Shield used to do their 6-man tag team matches, they did a great job of constantly taking somebody out. So even though it was a 6-man tag, there was constantly 3-on-2 and 3-on-1 situations where they'd, be able to gang up on somebody, and they were just booked so well. And when you watch this Freebirds match, you suddenly get where it came from, because the Freebirds were doing a great job of constantly eliminating one of the Von Erichs. And no, the advantage wouldn't last for long, but they were constantly throwing one Von Erich out of the ring or otherwise disposing him, so we get the double team. There were rules to this match, which became obvious. Because Kerry got tied in the ropes. David, was assisting with getting him out, but, they were choking Kerry and Kevin, and the referee was counting to, threaten the disqualification, which my point, if David is on the floor assisting with getting Kerry out, should that be allowed? So Kevin gets the claw on Gordy and Kerry got it on Hayes at the same time. Both got out of it relatively clean, although Gordy threw Kevin over the top rope, which was unseen by the referee. The match built to a spot where Kevin threw Gordy out of the ring and tied Hayes in the ropes. At that point, Buddy ran in, followed by David, signaling a DQ. See, I told you there were rules. And this ended up being a double disqualification, much to the frustration of the Freebirds. That's obviously there are some issues here, and, it's one of those things that's you can't just do this match every week and have a finish, but, at the same time, at some point, you got to give the fans something, a little something here, because, you're getting you're getting a lot of bullshit to extend the feud out. And the feud is hot. It's on fire. You just got to watch yourself, before you go a little too far here. It's already at the end of the show, and King Kong Bundy has joined Bill Mercer, and actually Kabuki's with him. Why was Kabuki not out here earlier? Who knows? But Kabuki's here now, and Bundy's talking to Bill Mercer.
Bundy, King Kong Bundy, Devastation Incorporated, the great Kabuki with me here. Well, you had the victory over Yatsu. I suppose you'd like a lot more than that.
I don't want any victory like that, Bill Mercer. A lousy, stinking disqualification. I had him squashed in the corner. I had him beat. You saw Hussein grab my leg and throw that stick up to him, that lousy kendo stick. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know anything about kendo sticks. But this man right here, the great Kabuki, knows all about him. And the match has been signed. A kendo stick match between Kabuki and Yatsu. And that's going to put an end to Hussein's little Yatsu once and for all. And I want to tell you something, Bill Mercer. And I want the world to know the boss has gone to get Kamala, and wrestling is never going to be the same.
Thank you, King Kong Bundy. Kabuki, nice to see you back. Well, next week, the Iceman.
Okay, so he points out the truth. Everything he just said, well, the first part was the truth anyway. He had Yatsu beat until they threw in the kendo stick. And he knows nothing about kendo sticks, but Kabuki does. So the match has been signed, the kendo stick match. between the Great Kabuki and Tola Yatsu. And so we're going to see that soon. But it's not going to be next week. Instead, next week, we're going to have Iceman versus the Great Kabuki, which, assuming is a warm-up match here for, Kabuki. And then David Von Erich versus Buddy Roberts. So the two people who were not technically in the match that we just saw. So another fun episode of World Class, which followed another fun episode of Mid-South. And that's going to do it for them. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Hope everybody had fun.